All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Gauntlet. Another episode, another Friday.
Let's get it.
Also, talk about rapid fire. Um, Anything else? The goat. What is the criteria to be the goat?
hmm
Um, Really cool stuff that we're going to discuss on the show tonight. Sports Moron and everything else. I'm your host, James Tatum. I'm with Jay Nelson, Denzel Snipes. Part of the Sideline Sports Network, Sideline Sports Family. Tune in to the Sideline Sports Show Tuesday nights at 8:30 p.m. and the rest of the shows that we have in the group. Hope you guys enjoy the content. So let's get into it. Odell Beckham Jr. signed with the Miami Dolphins today. How much of a move? How much does this move mean to Miami?
Oh, this is gonna sound, man. They're probably gonna hang my feet to the fire for this one. I don't think it really moved the needle. I think they already had a good enough team. They just had to find a way to beat the Bills.
Mhm.
Which, let's face it, like they
Or the
had that
Jets. I
division
think
lead.
if Rodgers is there, I think the Jets are the team to beat.
Yeah, and that too. They have a healthy Rodgers as well. But you figure last year, didn't they have like a 3 or 4 game lead late down the stretch, and then they choked it off, and the Bills won the division?
Yep,
So
they sure did.
as far as I'm concerned, the Bills and the Jets are in their way. I really don't think OBJ can still be solid. Don't get me wrong. It's just, let's face it, his best days are behind him.
Yeah, I actually completely agree. I don't think this move really means anything at all. OBJ, this is not 2014, 2015 anymore. It's not.
No.
He had a good run. He helped the Rams win the Super Bowl. He was a big part of that team, but those days are gone. And as like a third receiver that's going to ask for like number one receiver targets when you already have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, I just really don't see the point. The Dolphins didn't really need him. And does it really make them that much better to possibly go on a run in the AFC? I don't really think so. I don't really see it.
Yeah. Another thing about him, one more thing, is, and it sounds unfortunate, but he kind of tore his ACL a little late in his career, you know? So when you suffer an injury like that and it's that late in your career, they
Well,
tend to think,
he had a couple of ACL tears.
he actually did. Yeah, that
He
is
tore
true.
his ACL when he was with the Browns, and then he
Browns
tore
too.
his ACL in the Super Bowl against the
Mhm.
Bengals. So,
It's his second ACL tear,
um,
yeah. And he's getting older. They
yeah.
start to look at things like this. This is why he's been from the Rams to Baltimore and now the Dolphins. He'll probably see one more team before he hangs it up.
But I
So
mean, he had some moments with the Ravens last year, but
he did.
did he really do anything crazy? No. So he didn't do it crazy there. He ain't gonna do it crazy here. That's really it. So
Yep.
moving on, sports morons of the week, where we discuss the dumbest takes of the week.
And here we go.
All right, our dumbest takes of the week is brought to you by Sideline Sports and John Shear and everybody. So, here's what I want to say. I just saw this earlier, and it was a post from ESPN or somebody that was saying Patrick Beverley has been banned for life from appearing on ESPN because after the Bucks lost to the Pacers in Game 6, he said that a reporter was not allowed to interview him because he wasn't subscribed to the podcast. Just like,
What?
listen, I also think that as a person that's done media stuff, like, I think that Bev was being a little bit extra, but you guys are banning him for life for saying that. I just think that's incredibly stupid from ESPN and incredibly petty. So ESPN is my sports moron for that whole situation.
While he won't be a full-blown sports moron, I guess honorable mention or near sports moron, but Stephen A. Smith. He said, and I quote, "The series is over on Tuesday." He said it on Sunday. And then the Knicks blow a 6-point lead with 28 seconds left in regulation. And Tyrese Maxey puts on a clinic. Philly would win in
Does it really
overtime.
matter? Does it really matter
Yeah.
though? Because the Knicks
I
still
mean,
won the series. So
They did. They still.
no one's gonna think about Stephen A's comment because
Yeah.
they won the series.
Yeah, I get that. It's just, I guess it's just a lesson in being just a little bit too cocky. Like, I get it. The Knicks are your team, but maybe because he was that close to looking like if Philly won last night, they go to Game 7.
No.
Now people are shaking in their boots. But I know coulda, woulda, shoulda. It's just me. Like, okay, Rafael Esparza will tell you that the one word you don't use in sports betting is a lock, right? So. It's one of those things where you can't get too cocky. I get it. Jalen Brunson is a monster among men right now. But at the same time, it's not over. Like, you're out of the first round, you move on, you're going to face the Pacers, who actually match up pretty good with you. It's just a lesson in being cocky. That's it. I don't know one's going to remember the comment or anything, but that's all I could come up with for this week.
No, I got you, but yeah, I really also got to say, because I saw Grizz make a comment about the Sixers. Listen, man, Tobias Harris, can we finally just get rid of this guy? He has 0 points in this game. He's making $80 million or something. And it's just how much of a waste has he been? Everyone is going to always say Jimmy Butler in that whole situation. I get it, but can you not show up for an elimination game, have 0 points? You had the same amount of points as me in an elimination game. So I'm just tired of it. I want the guy to go. I'm tired of talking about it, tired of dealing with it every year. He's the weakest link on the team. And yeah. I'm not really surprised that the Sixers lost, because this is just kind of customary of this franchise. But I mean, that was disgusting to watch.
Yeah,
the guy just not literally do nothing,
just not show up. Yeah, and this is reminiscent of when Ben Simmons didn't show up in crucial moments, especially in Game 7. What was it, the 2018 playoffs, 2019? But it's.
No, I think Ben was worse, because Ben was considered a much bigger star than Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris is not an all-star like Ben was, but it doesn't matter. I'm saying, he's making all this money and he's doing absolutely nothing. So
yeah,
what do you want me to say? I
mean, even then with and even in the context of just showing up in big moments in an elimination game and you lay a goose egg, or in big moments with Ben Simmons, you pass up an easy dunk, or whatever, to pass it. It's stuff like that. It's stuff like that gets you dismissed.
Always something.
Because something. After that game, Ben Simmons was gone, right? So after not showing up, is it fair that Tobias Harris might be gone?
Well, his contract's over, so he definitely should be gone. Yeah. There's no other way I see, but I guess that's it. I guess that's all I have to say when it comes to the 76ers, when it comes to sports morons. I probably do have some more sports morons. I'm just not thinking of it right now. But appreciate you guys for tuning in the comment section, and thank you guys for giving your sports morons too. Those are definitely choices. Now I got one. There was actually a thing from the Los Angeles Clippers, or actually it wasn't the Clippers, but it was something in LA that said the Mavs are going to Cancun or something. And the Mavs are up 3-2, so the Mavs looking to close out Clippers. So after you made that sign that says going to Cancun, might come to bite you in the ass. So,
yep. Be careful about calling the series over too early. Just like I said.
You might have to get yourself bit in the ass for that one, but we can move on now to the next segment.
Well, so all right.
So wide receiver Tank Dell was shot in a Florida venue, and he was taken to the hospital. There were several people that was actually shot, not only Tank Dell. I just want to point that out because it seems like every time there's something like this that happens, they highlight, oh, it was a football player or it was an athlete or it was a celebrity, but when there's a group of people. And I mean, no disrespect to the great Kobe Bryant and his daughter, which was such a tragic thing, but we have to remember how many children and people was also involved in that crash, which is not ever talked about. So out of respect, I want to just make that very clear. But I want to just say that this is the world we live in. This is the world we live in today's world. You can't really do anything without being risk involved. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter like this city's dangerous, this city's not, this is safe, this is not. You can go to a safe area. And according to what we do know, because our friend Tyler is familiar with this part of Florida, and he said that this is actually a pretty safe area. So that just tells you can't trust anything. You never know like who's gonna act a fool, pull out a gun, start shooting people. So you always gotta be careful. You always gotta know your surroundings at all times, and you gotta try to like protect yourself. So really sad to see this kind of stuff happen. But again, not surprising. This happens in today's world, this happens in today's society. And it's just extremely disappointing, but it's something that, I've come accustomed to seeing in a place like Philadelphia, and there's other places that, other cities that are dealing with it too. So violence is not really a good thing for obvious reasons, and it's not the answer to our problems. So I just think like, I really wonder where the disconnect sort of comes from. I do want to say that the way people grow up and what's around them leads them down a kind of like a path like this. So, not having any sense of direction in your life when you're growing up. A lot of people growing up like without their father, or even if you don't have a father, like that's okay. Not having any decent man in your life that you can get advice from, that can tell you how to conduct yourself as a young man, and what to stay away from. I personally think that is where the disconnect comes from, and that's how people kind of get themselves into these spots where they're shooting people and killing people and doing all sorts of crazy things. But glad that Tank Dell made it out okay. Everything's fine with him. But really, this is not surprising. And I don't know why anyone would be surprised that something like this would happen.
It's actually a shame that even has to be said, that, it's that no one is surprised that something like this happened. And I actually had wanted to spin it in the direction that you just did. You kind of flowed into it. Is also wanted to take this in the direction of basically what is going on with, today's teenagers. They've seemingly gotten worse. And it's not just like this. It's like every other day on the news, I'm hearing about a teen. Don't get me wrong, like a life lost is a life lost, and one is one too many. But it's like every other. I'm seeing like these teenagers, like these kids ain't even making it to 21. You know what I mean? And all behind what? A sense of pride, some clout. They grab some guns, they want to go shoot something, and then broadcast it on TikTok and everything. And it's exactly the type of stuff that we talk about Ja Morant about, right? Like. You don't know what you don't know what world you're trying to get into, because the world you're trying to get into is a world that people who came up in that world are trying to get out of. It's a world where people really end up dead. People really end up in prison. People really end up stuck in the hood and can't do nothing else.
Yeah.
And
I want to say, it's a 16-year-old kid suspect that was arrested. Listen. You want to talk about getting into the world and getting into the real world. This kid is never going to have a chance now, because he did something like this when he's 16 years old, God knows how many years he's going to get. He's throwing his life away. He's throwing his future away. For what? For what exactly? What do you gain from, shooting up a party? So
Hmm.
it's just, it's sad from the perspective that people are not safe, but it's also sad that, this kid is 16 years old and this is what he just did to himself.
Yeah.
So that's the problem with the youth when they're getting involved in gangs and violence and shooting. You're putting yourself here, and let's face it, even if he does get out, it's going to be much harder to get a job. It's going to be much harder to get a career or even live a normal life after this. So that just really makes you think, man. Like, you got to make the right decisions, and you got to be around people that are going to guide you and put you on the right path and hold you accountable so you don't put yourself in a place like this. So
Yeah.
very disappointing.
Humongously disappointing to see someone, and when I worked in the prison, and mind you, I was around, 21, 22 year olds, and their life was already over. They're in there for first degree murder, you know? And
Yeah.
it's like, man, what in the hell went wrong in your life to where your life is over before you turn 25? Like, you got nothing. You're gonna grow old in here, you know? Like, it's crazy, and all what for? Behind an emotional decision or for some clout or whatever. These kids are risking their lives and their freedom for clout. And that's why I always say that, when it comes to social media, it's a tool, but
Social
it's
media has
it's
made things so much worse,
it
man.
did. It's essentially fuel to an already lit flame. Because before, social media, there were already, terrible incidents and such. There was a sniper at the University of Texas during the 1960s. There was Columbine. There have been sporadic incidents, but the crazy part is the upward trend of mass shootings in the United States, because the worst we ever heard coming up about some teens getting a hold of some guns was Columbine, and now it's like every other night. You know what I mean? So it's it's just crazy, and it's all for nothing. At the end of the day, it's all for nothing. And like you said, they're not having like the proper guidance coming up. No one's.
I really think that's where it starts.
It does.
It's hard for me to think it can be something else, because in life, to be a success, then you need to have people around you that are going to push you. You need to
Yeah.
have people around you that's going to have your back and support you and tell you when you're doing stuff wrong, and also applauding you when you do things right. But when you don't have a support system around you that's really effective, and accountability, as I said, accountability I think is one of the most important characteristics or core values that a person can have.
Hmm.
Because if we make a mistake, we all try to sort it out.
Right.
So you shouldn't hyper fixate on all the mistakes that you make. But when you do something, you have to learn from it and try to be a better person. But if you're always around people that just don't give a shit,
Yeah.
this is what happens. So I'm not trying to say nobody should not blame the kid or anything, but I really gotta say, the people that brought him into this world, his parents, his family, his friends, you guys have really let this guy down.
Yeah.
And this is not the only case of this. This is one of millions probably in the world. We just don't hear about all the other ones every single day because it's not involving an athlete or somebody famous.
Yeah.
But this is everyday shit that we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
And we need the older people to step up and be better leaders to these kids.
Yeah.
Get these kids out of the streets and away from all this shit, because it's not doing anything but causing the world to go even more in a downward spiral. So I really can't say enough like how much I hate seeing this type of shit.
Yeah, and and it was reported that there was a scuffle right before the shooting, and the kid was standing on the outside. He had nothing to do with the scuffle. He just pulled out and just started shooting. So it's like, what were you trying to prove? What were you trying to prove? You trying to prove something to somebody? And yes, it does begin with the older people and getting in their lives and everything. And yeah, I can't stress enough, y'all. Get in y'all's kids' business. Get in y'all kids' business. Stop being the mother best friend or the father best friend or whatever. Get in your child's business, okay? That is your job as a parent. I don't care what no one says. Because when you don't, you end up with a kid that's probably going to spend the rest, if not most of his life in prison because he decided to go to a venue, had nothing to do with nothing, and start shooting, got an NFL player shot.
Yeah, I blame the kid. I blame the people around him. It's a sad situation, but it's not a surprising situation to sum it all up. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna move on to our next topic of conversation, which is going to be, guys, when it comes to the GOAT. And this doesn't only have to be for the NFL, but whatever sport you want to talk about. Not even sports, non-sports, hip-hop, GOAT debate comes up a lot too. Listen, man, what is the real criteria to be the GOAT? And when I started this question, I want to just ask everybody watching, and I want to ask you as well, what is the most important thing when it comes to this? Because I feel like you can't only narrow it to one thing, because it's hard for me to explain it in words, but people that only talk about, oh, this guy has so many rings, so he's the greatest. Tom Brady is great. He's the greatest of all time, but he's not only because he won 7 rings. It was because of who he was. It was because he was a leader. He was a guy that always elevated his team. He was a guy that brought it every single week. He was a leader. He did everything. He rallied the team around him. And when it was time to show up in the biggest moment, that's what he did. And it resulted in 7 championships. I get that. That's great. But there's also players that either wasn't in a good situation, but they still elevated their team and still did those things and still even won championships. They just didn't win 7. So I don't really think that you can just shut down the conversation and say, oh, rings, that's it. There's rings, there's impact, there's what you did, there's how you elevated your team, how you elevated players around you, and what you did in the biggest moments. All of that goes together to be the GOAT. You can't only fixate on one thing. People try to shut down the conversation immediately. It happens a lot with LeBron and Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan has 6 rings. Michael Jordan is great. Yes, but LeBron is also great. LeBron has faced more challenging teams than Michael Jordan. So, he's 3-6 in the finals or whatever his record is. Okay? He had to play Golden State that was a stacked team that was already won a championship and signed Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
He had to play San Antonio with his first teams with Tim Duncan and Tony Parker and Ginobili and all these guys and young Kawhi Leonard when he won a Finals MVP. So you guys are just trying to shut down a conversation with no context. These are great teams that LeBron played, and LeBron played his heart out in the finals, but because he lost to teams that was much better, oh, he's not the GOAT, he's a loser, he's a choker. These are the people that I cannot take seriously when it comes to these type of conversations. If you have a legitimate reason why you think Michael Jordan, more power to you. Yeah. But don't shut down this and only say that LeBron is 3-6 or whatever, so that's it. That's not the only thing that matters. There's more criteria. There's more things that you have to consider when it comes to the GOAT. So that's how I feel about it. It's not just one thing. It's not just about rings. It's about collectively what you did. So that's my opinion. That's the way I see it. That's my criteria. I'm going to pass it over to you, Jay.
So, the whole rings thing, and is it a part of it? Yes, but people take it as everything. Because if that's the case, then Robert Ory would be greater than Michael Jordan because he got 7 rings. Terry Bradshaw would be better than Dan Marino, and we know that's a lie. To me,
Yeah.
I think it's about, because not every game is going to be perfect. Not every game is going to be a blowout. Back when Brady dominated the AFC East and he would slaughter the Bills, 33-3 and all of that, But it's about when he faced the Ravens of the world or the Steelers or, the other top tier of the AFC. And when it all comes down to it, and the biggest moments, driving down the field against a team that you are a 14-point underdog to win your first ring, and it was that drive that got him Super Bowl Most Valuable Player. He came through in the biggest moment on the biggest stage, of his career at that time period, and won his first ring. And then people knew Brady was the real deal when he did it again, with some help from kicker John Casey. But he did it again when he beat the Panthers. It's about making big-time plays and big-time moments. It's about exuding that leadership. It's about motivating your guys. It's also about making the guys around you better as well. We all talked about how Brady was making the beer man and the hot dog man, all pro wide receivers. But that's the type of guy that he was, and you see it now out of Patrick Mahomes, and you've had receivers.
Receiver, so.
Yeah, so not only that, it's like they lost their top guy, their top receiver in Tyreek Hill. Didn't miss a beat. He wins 2 more rings, 2 straight. So Patrick Mahomes, and James, you missed it. It was funny. Tyler saw it. He was on Monday Night Raw this past Monday. It was hilarious. But but yeah, when you got the John Elways, the Dan Marino's, the Brett Favre's, the Aaron Rodgers', the Mahomes, Brady, and all of them. Hell, even Eli Manning twice on the biggest stage beat Brady. Some people have him, probably not the GOAT, but one of the greatest. At several points, he was a top 5 quarterback. But all in all, you can't just include rings, because rings are a team accomplishment. Do they add to it? Sure. But
yeah,
you also have individual
I'll also say, like, on the same count, it's much harder to be in the GOAT conversation if you never won a championship.
If you've never won, you had that been
like Dan Marino.
Yeah, you had that been one hell of a player in order to, or in pro basketball, Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller only went to one NBA final and lost. He's still considered one of the greatest shooters like ever.
Yep.
So you have to work. If you never win a championship, you got to work about 5 times harder to even be put in the conversation. Because it's one thing to have the stats and the leadership and everything, but I agree. Without that ring, you got to work that much harder. It's just the reality of things. However, it's not the whole argument, and that's the whole thing. You alluded to Jordan versus LeBron.
Yeah.
And it's biased because with people arguing for Jordan, they take in totality of his career, but with LeBron, they only take his championships. You can't do that. You have to make it fair across the board. If you look at his career,
I don't have a problem with anybody taking Jordan.
Yeah, me neither.
At all. I just have a problem with 3 and 6. So how can LeBron even be in this conversation? Those are the type of people that I don't even want to waste my time with. But Tyler, I want to see what your thoughts are about in sports when it comes to the GOAT. What is your criteria for the GOAT? What do you think is the most important thing to make someone the GOAT? And all the other stuff that we talked about, if you wanted to respond to anything.
Yeah. So first, I want to bring up Bacon's comment that he said after "Come on in, Ty." After your comment, he said, "One of my favorite criteria is how much one dominated their competition." I agree with this. This goes into a big debate that we've had about who's the GOAT MMA fighter, right? So like everyone immediately says John Jones is the GOAT MMA fighter. He's held the belt, he has the most title defenses, and I always stick up for Khabib in this aspect. Not saying he's the GOAT, but I always say he belongs on Mount Rushmore for this aspect. For one, with the UFC, for example, they don't have like a certain pecking order in which you get to your title shot. John Jones got his title shot in his 4th UFC fight. It took Khabib 11 fights to get to his title fight. A big reason for that is because he's an international fighter. So they're gonna try and hype up the American because they know that sells. They want to boost their brand up, so that's important to them. And it's hard sometimes when you do that with MMA because some of these guys are not getting their due title shots. There's guys that are waiting for title shots. Khabib was one that waited for a long time to get his title shot. And he's a guy that is 29-0, never lost a round, never bled. He's dominated every single fight, and he's dominated the entire fight. There wasn't any split decisions like John Jones had with Alexander Gustafsson, or John Jones had with Dominic Reyes, or John Jones struggled with Thiago Santos. Like there's these fights that John Jones had that were close fights. Yeah. You tell me what fight that Khabib had that was a close fight. He's dominated his competition. He's dominated everyone.
All 29 fights, you're right.
And people give him a hard time because he retired early. And he retired early because his dad passed away, and his mom's wishes was for him. Yeah, I know, right, Bacon? I still love that fight. I made so much money on that fight, by the way.
You bet on that fight?
Just for clarity, so many people were picking Connor, so I bet like 4 different people on that fight. Man, I made
everyone loves Connor.
A few $100s on that night. I love that.
Nice.
My favorite fighter won, and I won money. So, what a GOAT moment for me. But yeah, so he retired early because his dad passed away. That was the whole reason. He'd still be fighting right now if his dad didn't pass away. But he had made a commitment to his mother. He's very close with his mom. He's very close with his family. They live with him. He's one of those. You know, he was raised that way. He has to give back, and he has family members that live with him. So that was a big reason. And now Islam is a champion. That's Khabib's best friend since childhood. So now he's supporting him and helping him train. You see what Islam Makhachev is. He's a dog. So I think that kind of plays into what I was about to say about being a GOAT, though. You have to dominate your competition. I don't have an issue. I honestly don't bring up the finals thing with LeBron and Michael. Michael's my GOAT, and I respect that Jay, and Jock and people go to bat for LeBron. Jay's cousin Jock goes a little overboard with it because I see his posts like every month about it. But
it's all good.
It sounds like he can't let it go. But but regardless,
when are we gonna get Unc back on the show?
Man, I'm about to hit him up probably after the show and set something up, dude. It's been a minute.
But the reason why Michael is my GOAT is because, like, when Michael lost to the Pistons, like, people say these things about, like, the Bulls and how they were orchestrated. Like, Scottie Pippen shouldn't have took that contract. I agree. He got screwed on the contract, but he took it. You know what I mean? He took it.
He did.
So there's nothing you could do about him. What he did to get stronger after losing to the Pistons, figuring out a way to get through that blueprint. I mean, that's why Michael's my GOAT, not just that he's won 6 championships, and 6-0 in the finals. He's lost in the playoffs. I never compare the whole playoff record thing because I hear from LeBron fans, Michael's lost in the first round, blah, 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 blah. And then I hear from Jordan fans, well, LeBron has the most playoff losses in NBA history, blah, 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 blah. So I don't even get involved in that. I look at it as when Michael lost, Michael came back stronger. When LeBron lost in Cleveland, which I lived in Canton, Ohio, I remember when LeBron James was at St. Vincent St. Mary. I remember when St. Vincent St. Mary played Glen Oak at high school. Like, I know more than everyone people across on the West Coast talking about LeBron, and I live literally 10 minutes from him. So, but LeBron left. The way he left was a big reason why I still kind of put Michael in a different aspect. And it's not the way he left, it's that his team was so dominant with the Cavs, they couldn't get over the hump. He went and joined up in Miami, made the right decision, went and teamed up with Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade. They assembled a team. That first year it didn't work. Zdrunas Sakauskis was down there trying to get one. Didn't work. But then they started filling in some good, fill-in roles, Norris Cole, guys like that, and they were able to get it done. That was a big reason for me why I put Michael on this certain echelon of things, because Michael got stronger over the summer when he lost to the Pistons. He got stronger to get through the way that the Pistons played and came back stronger. And they were dominant. But I don't have an issue with that debate at all. That's my whole point. Just like I don't have an issue when we talk about best MMA fighters. If John Jones is your GOAT, I totally understand it. A
lot of people do have him as a GOAT too. Popular choice.
Yeah, and I have absolutely no issue with John Jones being your GOAT. He has the most title defenses. He was the youngest champion. He's been pretty dominant. His one loss is a disqualification loss that shouldn't even count against his record. I
think it's officially a no contest, isn't it?
It's a no contest. Some people say that it's a loss still because if you watch that fight with Matt Hamill, it shouldn't have even been a disqualification. John Jones was dominating anyway. He was going to win that fight. So if John Jones is up there, some people put the banning thing, the banned substance is what hurts.
I think it actually.
Yeah.
I think it does. That's not saying that John Jones isn't one of the greatest. I just have always seen it as if he had kept a straight and narrow career, how much more could he have accomplished? Like, you're looking at, somebody who would have, so Anderson Silva, longest reigning middleweight champion ever, right? Could we see the same thing for John Jones in the light heavyweight title had he never gotten in trouble?
Possibly, yeah. The way he was clearing out that division. And Anderson's an interesting situation because he got too cocky in that Chris Weidman fight, the first one, when he got knocked out. And then he came back in the second fight, and that's when he broke his oblique, and that's when they put a pipe rod in his leg, and he never was really the same after that. Another reason why I want people to kind of temper their expectations with Conor McGregor for his next fight is that Conor's coming into this fight with a broken tibia, just like, I don't know why I said oblique, a broken tibia, just like Anderson Silva. So when you have a broken tibia, you are usually not the same guy. Same Chris Weidman, honestly, who Anderson broke his tibia 2 years ago. So, and he came back and he has not looked the same either. So I want people to temper their expectations with Conor because it's like we don't know what Conor's like. He hasn't fought in a long time. He has a broken tibia. He has a rod pipe in his leg right now. So that definitely limits you quite a bit. So we'll see what Conor's like, but I agree. I think there's other MMA fighters that people don't talk about on these GOATs just because they didn't watch it back in the day. When I first watched it, Royce Gracie, it was bare knuckle. It was bare knuckle. There was no weight limits in it, and they did it in a tournament. So it would be 8 fighters that would come in one night, and there was no time limits in these fights. By the way, there was like a 60-minute time limit. But you had to finish the opponent. Basically, the goal was to finish the opponent in that 60 minutes. Some fights would go 48 minutes long. Other fights would go 2 minutes long. So those guys who weren't fresh, obviously that was harder when you have 2 48-minute long fights and then you going into the final round and having another match like that in the same night. And Royce Gracie was this 165-pound jiu-jitsu expert that would show up with his family, proud of Gracie's jiu-jitsu, and he would take out everyone. They would get the meanest boxers. They would get sumo guys. They would get, all these different disciplines. And Hoist Gracie
Choked them all
dominated
out.
all of them.
Choked them all out.
And people don't talk about him because of what that era was at that time. It's so much different than what the era of it is now. It's evolved so much. But Hoist Gracie is still on my is one of my goats on my Mount Rushmore, I guess you could say, of MMA, because of what he did for the sport and how dominant he was in the sport, to play along with Bacon's point as well.
Now, coming up a Cubs fan, and since we're on a GOAT topic here, who would you have as the greatest Cubs player and why that you've ever seen?
That I've ever seen, or who is considered the greatest Cubs player of all time?
To you. Like, who was your favorite and why is he your greatest?
I mean, honestly,
Sandberg, Dawson.
Sandberg is probably my GOAT. The way he played his position, because he was so defensively sound as well, playing as a fielder. That's something that gets overlooked a lot. I know a lot of people like Derek Jeter, for example. A lot of people bring up Derek Jeter a lot, and I used to have this debate with Jahan all the time because he would talk about how clutch of a hitter he was, and I would be like, but he wasn't the best fielder. He wasn't. If you look at the errors that Derek Jeter has, he has so many errors in the field. He wasn't the best fielder. He was a very, very clutch hitter, but he was vulnerable when he was out there. So with Sandberg, it was different. Like with the Cubs, Ryan Sandberg could hit. He was such a great fielder. He was a great team leader as well. Those guys loved him. Just a year ago, he was going through cancer, and dude, you felt like the whole city was behind him while he was going through cancer. He's so beloved there. So that would be my GOAT for the Cubs. I know a lot of people say Ernie Banks, and I have no issue with it. Ernie Banks is Mr. Cub, love him, great. But I never saw Ernie Banks play. You know what I mean? I never got to see Ernie Banks play. So I have to go off of what I've seen, and I would say Ryan Sandberg.
Hey, that's all good. Well, Mr. JJ popped into the party, so same question. To you, what constitutes somebody being the greatest of all time?
You have to have the numbers and you have to have the accolades. Part of being the greatest of all time, and we talk about it so much on so many occasions, your talent has to lead your team to a title. Your talent has to be able to take it to the next level and the dire need for you to be considered a GOAT. And so at the end of the day, and it's not just a title, it's got to be multiple titles, because there's plenty of people that win a title. Trent Dilfer has a title. Joe Flacco has a title. Brad Johnson has a title in basketball. Robert Horry has titles. Bingo. Shoot. My boy Moses Malone, he has titles. It's multiple titles, and there can't be no doubt. Your numbers have to match. If Tom Brady didn't have 7 Super Bowls and had 3, we wouldn't consider him the GOAT. We would consider him one of the greatest, but not the GOAT.
Who would be the GOAT?
Probably Montana.
Joe Montana would be the GOAT for the simple fact of the matter is his talent translates to other. If you can't get your team, if you can win regular season games against the same type of opponents that you'll see in the postseason, but can't beat them in the postseason, then what does that really say about your play if you can't take it to the next level when you face them all the time in the regular season? That's what makes it different for me. Like, GOATs be able to go to the next level.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, in basketball, look at Joker and them. This year they coasted the regular season. This year in the playoffs, they're kind of doing what they're supposed to be doing. Look at Philadelphia. Is Joel Embiid one of the GOATs of Philadelphia possibly? Maybe not, because when you need him the most, it just does not seem to happen. And it's not, and I hate to say it, but
I think
we're getting on a little. I'm getting on a little tangent there. So I'm gonna kind of reel it back in because we're not talking about that.
I don't think Joel was the reason they lost the series. They were great when he was on the floor, and they were terrible when he wasn't.
No, I don't think it necessarily lost, but I hate to say this, but it conveniently, every time Philadelphia gets to the playoffs, he gets hurt or he's already hurt. So it's not saying it's a scapegoat, but it's off. It looks convenient, and so. But
I mean, he does turn it over in those game sevens the past couple of years as well. I mean, that's there. I will say under his circumstances this year was crazy because I mean the guy like had half a face playing basketball, so that was.
And he tried. He did try, but
he definitely tried. Yeah.
For the record, at some point in the season, the Sixers were 31-8 when Embiid was playing, and had a losing record when he wasn't. James, am I lying?
No, I mean, and I will be the first person to blame Joel because I think that Joel is kind of soft. Like he doesn't have the Philly toughness. He has the talent, but he doesn't have the toughness. But if you watch this team, you can see that there was much more problems than him.
I don't know. It might be. I'll be completely honest. Just looking at it, I think it might be time to just move Joel and just make Maxey take over. Because Maxey's so, like, in the moment, Maxey is so unfazed by stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I ain't mean us to get on basketball. That is my bad. I was more so, I guess, that's great conversation.
We're talking about all sorts of sports.
Before you got here, in the topic, we was talking about, Tyler went on an MMA GOAT tangent.
We're talking about MMA, basketball, football.
All right, so I'll sit there and say this. Why is... When you think about GOATs of any sport, when you say their name, you automatically think about, oh, wow, it's without a doubt, bam, on top. If I say Kobe Bryant and he's considered a GOAT, you already know what you expect. You already know the play's going to be there, and you already know the play when the game needs it the most is going to be there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why? It's when you... Jason Tatum, why he wants to answer that conversation of being... But it's like, you got to lead your team to multiple titles. And because if you can do it once, but you could do it again when everybody knows you're coming and they want you.
Yeah.
The more you do that, the more you solidify who you are. Patrick Mahomes is the first perfect example right now who is clearly on his way. Every circumstance that seems to be thrown at him, they seem to figure it out and move on and move forward. Some great quarterbacks couldn't do it. Aaron Rodgers couldn't do it. No shade. No shade. Brett Favre couldn't do it multiple times. Donovan McNabb, Joe.
McNabb is nowhere near this conversation.
Peyton Manning couldn't get it done, but maybe twice, and he had 5 chances to do it. You see, it's like that's. But then,
Peyton Manning's performance against Seattle really, really was detrimental to his chance.
Oh, I mean, his playoff record in general is detrimental to the GOAT conversation for me. I just got to be real. It's like Aaron Rodgers for me. I love Aaron Rodgers, but like when people even bring him up there, I always have to say, look at his playoff record, though. And I know it's 11 on 11. I understand it's a team effort. I understand all that. But when you go to the playoffs multiple times, expectations get to a point that you should have, not a 500 record in the playoffs or a below 500 record. That's when things start hurting your reputation on things. So,
but there's still context, though. You can't only look at the record.
No,
how many times do they play a team like San Francisco, number 1 seed Atlanta, teams that were much better than Green Bay? You can't always only expect to win when it's a team sport.
Like, like when you think about GOATs, like, I'll even take it to WNBA. Maya Moore has 2 rings and she's considered possibly one of the GOATs of WNBA basketball. Why? Because her play there and her team got better. Her team was better instantly when she came in there. And then her college career, it was no doubt. Because you knew when that game was on the line, if she had the ball, the greatest of the greatest always come through. Or a majority of the time come through. I'm not trying to go there with this person because I do not want this to turn into that conversation. But he has GOAT status. He has GOAT status. You know where I'm going with this, Tyler. He has GOAT status. Yeah. That man in Los Angeles cannot be the GOAT because it's been more times has been not worked out in his favor, whereas in more time, other than times that it has. You know, 4-6 is not. And I love LeBron. I think he's a great player. I think he's phenomenal. I think everybody who has so much hate for him is kind of no shade, undeservingly all the time. Unless you can give me a basketball reason for, like, if you were an Orlando Magic fan, I can understand why you would hate LeBron, because he didn't shake your hand after he played in the NBA on Eastern Conference Finals way back when. I can understand that, because you're sitting there thinking like, boom, what's up? But if we're talking greatest of all time, it's just, you can't come and make that case with more losses than wins on the biggest stage, because there are other guys that have got there that don't even get the round, and they have been on the biggest stage just as much as you and went 5-1. I mean 5-2.
Again, I'm gonna say the word context. LeBron is 4-6. LeBron played San Antonio Spurs, one of the best dynasties to ever do it. Played Golden State, already a championship team, adds Kevin Durant. What do you expect him to do? How do you expect him to beat these teams and use his finals record against them?
And mind you, one of those NBA finals, both him and Kyrie averaged 40 points the whole series.
I'm not one to sit here and do that, because number one, I personally think anytime you make it to a finals of any type of professional sport, you are always great. And if we're going to sit there and say, what does he do with this? Then we need to sit here and eliminate that, come back from 3 down to 1 to beat the best record of all time of the Golden State Warriors. At the end of the day, teams are teams. I don't even get into that conversation. His challenge in play is no different from the people that Michael Jordan faced with the Utah Jazz and the Seattle Supersonics and the Phoenix Suns and the Miami Heat. The talent is talent. Talent is talent. But for me, at the end of the day, there are certain people that, despite who they came across, could still overcome. And granted, there were times that LeBron had chances to overcome, and it wasn't in his favor. Obviously, the J.R. Smith situation was one of them that he couldn't have controlled, but that led to other things in that factor. That Cavs team, I'll give it to you, maybe not be the best, but some Cavs teams were not bad, some Cavs teams were bad. But it's like, at the end of the day, you still made it. You still gave yourself a shot. And at the end of the
just to answer one question, because I saw Cowboy said it. Cowboy, you asked me for wide receiver for Tyler, what about Jordy Nelson, Donald Driver, or Greg Jennings? Well, for me, the best Packers wide receiver of all time is Sterling Sharp. He's not in the Hall of Fame. He should be. His injury limited him. But if I'm choosing between those three, Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, and Donald Driver, this one might surprise you, because a lot of people like to say it's Jordy Nelson, especially because, quite frankly, he should have been.
I know who you're going with, and I agree with you.
Quite frankly, he should have been the Super Bowl MVP. It shouldn't have been Rodgers, but it's Donald Driver. Donald Driver was an incredible wide receiver that a lot of people don't talk about. He was absolute, in his story, to be a 7th rounder from Alcorn State. He's got mangled fingers from Brett Favre, how hard Brett Favre threw it. It's Donald Driver, and I'll be quite frankly, it's not even close out of those three.
I think if you ask Packer fans, a lot of Packer fans.
Why is Devontae Adams not in this discussion?
Well, it wasn't brought up.
I kind of agree with Tyler in this situation.
Right, but Packers,
at the end of the day, Donald Driver saved Green Bay in a lot of games. He saved Green Bay in a lot of games.
Devontae and Donald Driver would be a good argument. I think in terms of talent, if you're going off of talent, I really think it's Sterling Sharp. I really do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Sterling is the best. Sterling is the best.
All right. Well, I guess that brings it to the end of the GOAT debate.
Yeah, he really does. Greg Jennings, I knew this was gonna be a
great segment. But we got a few minutes left to do Pass the Mic, if anybody's interested in sticking around for that. Does anybody have a non-sports thing that they want to kick us off with?
I do.
Ooh, JJ does.
I do.
Go ahead, JJ.
All right. Pick a side, Magneto or Charles Xavier, in terms of how to help mutants.
In terms of what?
And in terms of to solve the issue between humans and mutants, if you're an X-Men, whose side are you taking? Magneto's side or Charles Xavier's side?
Xavier. Dude can get into your mind. It is what it is, you know. I know he's limited.
No. I'm focusing on the ideologies of how to solve the crisis between bringing mutants and humans peacefully together. You know, Magneto wants to take it by force because mutants have been ostracized, and Dr. Charles Xavier seeks a peaceful, basically Dr. King and Malcolm X in terms of that.
Okay. I see where you're going. Oh,
but
man.
if you haven't watched the shows and all the shows over there, I know Tyler, I know you guys, we're all comics, but you have to base it off the events that happened in the show. Like, for example, the Sentinels taking a Magneto story. You have to take into account of that factoring, like what actually happens on the show.
Okay.
I haven't been watching the latest show. I've seen all the movies.
Yeah.
I've seen all the movies. Growing up, Beast was my favorite X-Men, for the record. I have not watched X-Men 97 yet, though, unfortunately. So that's where I want to limit where I speak too soon on this. I was going to say, off the rip, I was going to say Charles Xavier, because I understand. I would say, you know, the more peaceful approach. But I was willing to listen to what you guys are going to share first, because JJ, I know you've been binge watching it like crazy. So you are definitely up to date on this more than any of us, probably.
I'm gonna have to choose Xavier just on the ideology of, it's one thing to take things by force. It's probably the more exciting thing, but it's something to be said if you can influence people to do what you want them to do, put an agenda out there that would help them. If you can influence people to doing something without having to use force, without having to use hostility and such, then yeah, like I said, that's something to be said. So I'm gonna go with Xavier on this one, although I acknowledge the sexy pick would be Magneto.
Okay, I had to word that better next time.
I'll be honest, I like Xavier more, so that's gonna play a factor too when I even think about it. But
I kind of like Magneto.
James, have you been watching?
No, I haven't been watching, so I have no idea what's going on.
Are you not an X-Men guy?
No, not really. Like, X-Men, Fantastic Four, not my favorite thing in Marvel. I'm more into the Avengers. That's my thing.
Okay, there you go, James. There you go. Captain America: Civil War. Whose side was you on?
I actually didn't watch that one.
What?
Oh man, that's in my top 5.
Oh,
you gotta watch this weekend.
Wow.
Out of the MCU, that movie is in my top 5.
I will watch the movie this weekend.
That's a good movie. Yeah, that's definitely worth the watch.
And it was Black Panther's next week. And it was Black Panther's first appearance. He stole the show.
Honestly, my favorite. If we're talking about MCU favorite movie, my favorite is Captain America, but it's the Winter Soldier. That's my favorite.
Winter Soldier's not a bad pick.
That's
my favorite. I think it's the most underrated.
What's the least favorite Marvel movie?
Winter Soldier was like
least favorite one?
Yeah.
Least?
Man.
Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3.
Ooh, good choice. Not good. I was gonna say Thor. What was it? Roanoke.
Ragnarok.
You didn't like
Ragnarok? I wasn't a fan.
I remember you saying that though. I do.
Yeah, that movie was kind of overhyped.
I mean, man,
can I be honest? I'm not a big Thor movie guy. I don't think Thor's that good.
Or, I mean, but I'm a little biased here. Like, Chris Hemsworth is not bad. I think he did an awesome job as Thor. But as far as Thor in general, after playing God of War Ragnarok, that is the most accurate depiction of Thor. It's not some dashing blonde guy with a melon. Yeah, he's a red-bearded, red-headed, murderous fool. That's what Thor is.
The drunk one, right? The drunk.
Yes, in God of War Ragnarok, that's Thor.
I
That's
like that.
Thor
I
right
like
there.
Thor. I like that. I
Oh,
like
we're
Thor.
over here talking about Kratos and stuff
Sorry,
now. Okay.
I'm gonna be the misogynist on this show, and I'm gonna say Captain Marvel is my least favorite.
No, if it's your least favorite, it's your least favorite.
I'm sorry.
Now, I was
I
fearful of
like
being
I like the
misogynistic.
idea of the whole thing, but no, absolutely not.
I would say probably and that's not saying that they're bad. You know, they were all great actors. I think, but probably my least favorite would be Guardians of the Galaxy, but only because I weren't fans of them growing
Terrible
up.
answer. I don't agree with this answer.
No.
They're my
But you gotta listen.
favorite.
But you gotta listen to it real quick. I gravitate more towards who I was fans of growing up. You know,
Okay.
like watching and everything. And I wasn't.
God, I
a
love
Guardians
Guardians of the Galaxy.
And I wasn't. I wasn't a Guardians of the. That's not saying that they bad. That's not saying they're bad. But
Yeah.
I would watch a Spider-Man, a Captain America, a Wolverine. I watch all of them way before Guardians of the Galaxy. I think Star-Lord can be an idiot sometimes, but
Okay,
you
so another question. I'm taking all the past the mics tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
Who you rolling with? Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland for Spider-Man?
Oh, wow.
Toby, Tom Holland just has a permanent "I'm about to cry" face.
I still think Tom does a really good job.
He just got a permanent "I'm about to cry" face. But he wasn't a bad Spider-Man. But now I like
Yeah,
Toby.
Tom has done a really good job, but
Tom
I grew up with Toby, and I like Toby.
No.
So
Yeah,
I
I'm
gotta
Toby.
give it to Toby.
Yeah, for me, I think Tom Holland does a great job, I'll be honest, but Toby is so nostalgia for me. Topher Grace, is in it as well, but those ones, yeah, I have to say Toby because it's so nostalgia. I mean, my favorite one of those first three was the second one with Doc Ock. I love that one, Spider-Man 2, with Tobey Maguire. Yeah, I remember going to theaters at midnight watching it. I remember at the time that was when like Dashboard Confessional was really popular as a band, and Vindicated came out. That was such a popular song because of Spider-Man, because of the Tobey Maguire and MJ thing. I remember having a girlfriend in high school at the time, and she thought that was so cute at the time. So yeah, I'm gonna roll with Toby on that one too.
Yeah, this may be a bit of a hot, bold take, but Spider-Man 3 really wasn't a bad film. And Topher Grace wasn't a bad villain.
That was
Obviously-
like emo Spider-Man. That was emo
kinda
Spider-Man, that third one.
The Black
Kind of like
Spider-Man.
James. I'm kind of like James. I grew up on Tobey Maguire. I still remember going to the movie theaters right when that first hit the scene. Not just Tobey, because I was a big Bring It On
Me and
fan.
you both, JJ, we're the same age, brother.
Right. I was a big Bring It On fan, so Kirsten Dunst, here you go. And then William Dafoe. And then, of course, that was the first movie I really saw James Franco. And so it's just like seeing the spider bite him, all the going through the changes and stuff. And then it just became a part of me. And then the second and third one, when he became Venom, it was just, I like, and I love Tom Holland. I think Tom Holland is great.
Tom Holland's great.
He's a high school looking like kid. He's probably 25 looking like he's 15. Watch out now. It's like, let me stop. Anyway, but he's great. But I grew up on Tobey. I really grew up on Tobey.
If I had to pick a villain and their actor that played them that was the best out of all three series, easily Willem Dafoe. Easily Willem Dafoe. And you know what? And I'll tell you what was it, Spider-Man No Way Home or Far From Home? Jake Gyllenhaal wasn't a bad Mysterio at all. I thought he did pretty good.
I thought Doc Ock was done really well in the second
Doc Ock
one,
was
too.
awesome. Doc Ock was awesome. And Jamie Foxx wasn't a bad Electro either.
I actually like the ones with the other guy for Spider-Man. I liked it because they took it back to Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was his first love. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so I like all the Spider-Mans, but yeah.
I mean, even Sandman, like the dude, I forgot who played him, but yeah, he was pretty good too. There's really not a bad actor in any of them.
I mean, I even like the animated one, the Enter the Spider-Verse. I thought that was really well done. I thought that you could put him up there even. I mean, yeah, I honestly like all of them. That's the difference between like and I'm gonna go back to it. But that's the difference with like Thor for me. Like Thor, I don't like all the movies. Like the movies don't. They kind of bore me, to be completely honest. It's hard for me to stay into it.
He's
I'll be honest. I'll be watching it. I'll be honest. I'll be watching it, and I'll be like, if I watched it right now, I'd probably just be like, I'm just gonna turn it off and watch an episode of Criminal Minds at this point.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
Wheels
Thor.
up, you know.
Thor as a character in Marvel, because he really doesn't have an underdog element, because he's a thunder god. Like, how you really gonna kill him? You know what I'm saying? So on the outset, it's like, well, he's the god of thunder. What can we do? Send him back to Asgard? You know what I'm saying? But I understand completely how he was an asset on the Avengers. Again, Chris Hemsworth, love the guy. I thought he does awesome as Thor.
But
you know,
but if we're talking about if we're talking about bad Marvel movies, I forgot to mention this one, but I'm gonna include it. It's the first Incredible Hulk movie. That wasn't good either.
Yeah. With Eric Bana?
I wasn't a fan of it. It was long. That one's long. You know, that one was a little much for me. The first one.
Boring.
But from my perception, I think the reason why y'all call it bad now is because when the one came out in 2008, it was so much better. Like the joint with Norton.
I like the Eric Bana one. I like the villain.
The one with Eric Bana wasn't terrible. Is it the worst one out of all the ones? Of course.
And I'm a big Jennifer Connelly fan. I'm a big Jennifer Connelly fan.
Oh yeah, love Jennifer Connelly.
Liv Tyler cool too though.
Yeah.
You didn't have a good childhood unless you had the Hulk hands.
The what?
The Hulk hands. The Hulk
hands. You put them on your hands and then like they make the noise.
Yep, I remember those. We had Rock'em Sock'em, or we had what were those? What were the big
Karate
pillow
fighters?
bags? What?
Oh man.
No, JJ, you know this. What were the big pillow things we had that we put on our hands that we would box with? What were those called? Soccer boxers?
Rock'em and Sock'em. Oh, the little
Yeah, what were those called?
No, yeah, the things, the fighter thingies.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Dude, me and my brothers had them, and I had three brothers. Obviously, my older brother passed away, but there was three of us, and we would always argue because one of us couldn't have them at the time. So it was like, you know, you get a set of two, and there's three of us, and that was always
somebody's always left out.
Yeah, it was always Dylan, my little brother. He was always left out.
Of course.
Man.
Yeah, always be rude to the little brothers.
Why y'all do Dylan like that? I do Dylan like
yeah,
okay.
I can't.
I know, James, you said you were in the X-Men thing. So, what's the worst anime you've ever seen? I mean, hands down, worst. Please don't say Ninja Scroll.
Yeah, this is Please don't say Ninja Scroll. You know I don't know. I don't do a lot.
Please don't say Ninja Scroll.
It's hard for me to answer this question because when I watch anime and it's bad, I just like stop watching it. I don't watch it all the way through. Like I'm quick to jump off of something. I can tell you what I think is probably pretty overrated.
I know where you're going with this.
Dragon Ball GT.
I think, in my opinion, One Piece is overrated.
I knew he was going to say that.
What's One Piece?
Listen, One Piece is like this. It's like a pirate anime, but it's good. But it has over 1,000 episodes.
I haven't seen
it. It takes so long for it to actually be good. So it's good, but like if you have to spend like 9 years watching, then what's the point? So
is Avatar considered an anime?
No.
That's up for debate, but some people
I don't know, it's like a 9 hour and 14-minute movie it feels like when you're watching it, but go ahead.
The movie?
I like the live action.
I haven't seen the movie. I used to watch
Oh god, dude, that movie's so long. It's too long.
But his big old
It's too long. It's too long.
Chris has a good
You're talking about the live action? Well, it's a James Cameron film to be His movies tend to be like 3 hours. Y'all ain't seen
Yep.
Jurassic Park? Yeah.
Transformers.
If it's a James Cameron film, you may as well pitch a tent and light a campfire because you gonna be there. James Cameron films are at least 3 hours. Like
He
y'all know
gonna
this.
There's
all
no
the-
piss
he gonna
breaks
use the
involved.
maximum-
There's
I feel like there's a length of time that the experts say you can stretch a movie to. He gonna stretch it all the way to that length of time.
Yeah, that
They
actually
gonna-
what Tyler said actually reminded me when I was stationed in Italy because they actually still did it old school. You actually had intermissions to where they would stop the movie, you go for 10 minutes and go piss, get a beer, get some food or whatever, then come back and they'll continue to film.
You know what movie was boring and a little bit slow was the goddamn Batman versus Superman joint. That joint was boring.
we're talking about if we're talking about boringest movies ever. Let's make that the topic because I can name mine right now because I hate this movie.
Which one?
Dude, it's The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. I hate that movie with a passion, dude. I hate the whole concept. I hate the whole concept of it. I felt weird watching it.
Did you watch it with Cassie? Did she like it?
No,
The movie where the guy was aging in reverse.
I saw this
Yeah.
long before. I saw this long before her, and I'll be honest, I hate this movie so bad. I hate looking at the movie cover. I hate when it's brought up. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, the worst movie I've ever seen.
You had nothing. You took away nothing good
And
from the film.
the thing is, it got such good reviews. It was up
It
for
got so many
awards,
people Oscar nominations.
It did.
and it was awful.
Tyler was like,
Awful.
what was y'all watching?
I was so confused, man. I told you, JJ. I felt straight up weird watching that movie. I was like, "What the hell am I watching?"
You took away. You had no positive takeaways from The Curious Case of Benjamin Button.
None.
It rated a 0.
Worst and weirdest movie I've ever seen in my entire life.
He's
Don't
like,
have
how do you
any
start off with
desire
a
to watch
baby?
that ever again.
He's like, wait a minute, a baby that starts off looking like a grandfather? Like what?
So confused
Just-
watching that movie, man.
Because couldn't he? Like, and it's like, wait a minute. So what you're saying is, when I turn 10, I'll look like I'm 5, and then I'm like, what?
Dude, James, I know you rewatch movies after we talk about them. Don't do it.
I ain't watching it. I ain't watching that.
Nah, you gotta watch it now, James. You gotta watch it now.
Don't you
No,
dare.
I ain't watching that shit. Not that.
Like JJ said, I was like, he's 12 now? I was like, and he's going
It's like, so wait a
backwards?
minute.
This is so
Wait a
weird.
minute. When he gets 18, he's going to look like he's 2, and he's going to be legal to date? That's so weird. Like, what?
And dude, and the Oscars are like, this is such an artsy, like, I'm really open-minded. Like, my wife is very artsy, stuff like that. But when it came to that movie, I was like, what the hell is this?
I mean,
dude? Like,
I can kind of see because he ages in reverse. So if you like walked in, like at the end, it's all sad because it's like, why is this little kid dying? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's never fun to see. It's like, no. He was born as an old man, and then he
Well,
aged.
the
You know what's funny?
It's like-
probably like, let's say he like 16, he about to get into a fight. The kid can be like, oh damn, do I hit him or do I not? Like, I don't know what to do. 'cause-
dude, and the worst part about this, and I mean this is like one of the worst parts. This came out around the holidays, around Christmas, dude. This kind of spoiled the holidays for me, like a little bit. I was like, what the hell did I watch?
Benjamin Button
I can
really
just imagine Tyler, you reading the reviews, they're like, this is an impressive, fascinating display of film and caricatures developed. Well, he's like, what the freak are y'all watching?
Yeah, and then just imagine
You're like,
how.
you know what? Holly Weird confirmed.
And then imagine
Oh,
how.
I'm with you, bro.
Imagine how a woman would feel because this motherfucker's like 45, 50, but he look like jailbait. So they're like, he's like, no, but I swear I'm 40. I'm 40.
Dude, to have it come out around the holidays, around Christmas, is such a poor timing too. Because you're just like, the hell? Like, this is not putting me in the Christmas spirit.
You know, to Tyler's point, because I love this topic, I was just thinking about this. I loved this movie as a kid, but the older I got, I realized how trash it was. Soul Plane literally was probably like straight up
Soul
trash.
Plane was funny.
It was funny.
Plane was
but
funny, man.
It had so many nasty undertones. I was a kid and I was just laughing my butt off to all the stuff that was going on. But when I got older and watched, I was just like, gosh, this is low budget almost. Good gracious. Like,
so you liked it as a kid though, right? Is there a
I
movie that
did.
you just watched that you just straight up didn't like? You're like, this is terrible. Because that movie didn't age well for you, Soul Plane. Which there's movies like that for me too that I watch now and I'm like, geez, I like this, but.
Oh no, I'm with you because like Van Damme Street Fighter, I went to go see in theaters when I was like 12, and I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. I was a huge Street Fighter fan and a Van Damme fan, but then now watching it as an adult, I'm like, bruh, like
Dude.
this, and that's still not the worst. I'm talking about out of any video game adaptation, any comic book adaptation.
Please don't go here.
The worst.
Please
the
don't.
worst.
Please.
The worst film
Please.
I've ever seen
Please.
is Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. That is the worst I'd ever seen.
You never watched Dragon Ball.
And I'm gonna tell you, and as a lifelong Street Fighter fan, it was an insult. It was like they kicked me in the back of the head with a brick. It was an insult.
So
it really was.
You didn't like it from the get-go,
version
right?
of Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh, I didn't even buy. That just looked terrible. I didn't even bother popping it in.
I'll be honest. I talked to Mark Barron about this one, but a movie that hasn't aged well that I liked as a kid. That if you watch now, and like I said, you're gonna say, "Oh, those were great as a kid," but go watch them right now. Three Ninjas. That did not age well. You watch Three Ninjas now, like with Cole and all them. You're like, wow,
didn't Three Ninjas? Didn't Three Ninjas have the dude that was the pizza boy in Ninja Turtles 2?
Dude, it's so corny now though.
We know Three Ninjas with Hulk Hogan one was definitely corny as hell.
Definitely corny. Definitely corny.
The amusement park
They overdid it.
Yes.
Magic Mountain.
Because at the end of the day, why are you walking with a case of $1 million just walking around lounging and everything? Like, what the heck? And it just listen, y'all not taking away because I was Tom. Stop playing. I'm not messing with my boys. Okay?
I like Cole.
I love
Cole was my guy.
Three Ninjas. Okay.
Cole was my guy as a kid.
You always adapted to the person that you were related to in terms of your family. Like if you were the oldest of two, you're gonna be one of the older ones, particularly the oldest. Mm-hmm. If you're the youngest, which is where I was
the middle child, so I was
kind of stuck. Yeah. Keenan was Rocky.
James, you gonna give us one?
I don't know, bro. We made this a roast session of all the worst movies of all time.
Dude,
another really bad movie that people, and I wish Dom was on here because Dom would probably defend it, but if you watch it now, it's so bad. Freddy Got Fingered with Tom Green. Terrible movie, dude. I know it's not supposed to be good, but if you watch it now, it's so bad. So bad.
You watched it as a grown-ass man and was like, dude, what the fuck was I thinking?
It's like, what the hell am I watching, dude?
What's that movie, Road Trip? Where the skinny dude is in the bed with like the thick black girl.
Dude, yeah. He was the new guy too. That guy. I forget his name. But they're trying to star him. They're trying to star that guy who was in Road Trip with the big black woman. You know, the one that ate like shit pancakes in the movie, James. They're trying to star him to be like in a Freddy Krueger TV series right now. Which I think doesn't work at all. Like when I heard it was him, I was like, what? The new guy? You remember the new guy movie? Yeah, the same guy.
Damn.
That's funny as hell.
Crazy.
Well, I guess that's it.
I guess that's it, boys.
We went 20 over.
This was a great episode.
Hey, you know what? I wouldn't mind a sequel to this because I'm pretty sure we've seen a slew of bad films. We probably have to bring this back next week.
We should continue this next week.
Yeah.
We can actually.
Yeah, I think we should. I think next week, if we do this, we should start the non-sports topic at like. Well, I won't be on next week. Sorry, I won't be on because next Friday is my daughter's second birthday, so I won't be on.
Second birthday, yeah. That's
so.
We can just talk about something else.
Wait. We'll just save it for the next time you come.
Yeah, 17th. I'll be on that one, but I won't be on next Friday.
Yeah. No.
The little girl.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. But we'll save it till you come back, Tyler.
Okay. Yeah. We could start at like 40 minutes after, though. That's what I was gonna say. That way, it gives us more time to talk about it.
Yeah, so we'll try to get through all the topics.
Thanks, Bacon.
By the 45 minutes, so we have 15 minutes for.
Yeah.
That's what I think we should do.
I just want to shout out everybody because I appreciate the love that came in from you guys when I walked in.
Of course.
I really did. I really was.
In the house,
Hold on. Before we go off the air, real quick,
brother.
Before we go off the air, JJ, do you got a bet of the week, real quick? It's going to be a full weekend. It's going to be a full weekend, so go ahead and bless us one time.
Okay, I am very excited. I will sit here and say, for tonight's matchup, because we didn't get a chance to do Orlando and Cleveland, I like Kyrie Irving tonight. They're at home. He plays well there. He has the best skill set of pretty much anybody on the court that has been playing in this series. Luka had a great game, but Kyrie's in a good spot because right now Luka's a little hobbled, but he's getting back to form, and then Kyrie comes through. And for the weekend, Nikola Jokic, baby, he going against the Frenchman Rudy Gobert, and if you've looked at his matchup this year, he dropped 25, 32, 35, and 41 on this board. 45, 47. But no, honestly, Nikola Jokic in Minnesota, Denver and Minnesota is going to be a fantastic series. I'm definitely thinking Nikola Jokic is going to show up and show out and drop 30 points this weekend. I do FanDuel now, y'all, so I'm going to sit there. We elevating a little bit. I would sit there and say, if you see, I have to learn that one just to watch you guys because it's a lot more favorable things. But been taking a break on the betting lately, but that's what I would sit there and look at for this coming weekend. Nikola Jokic and of course Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is doing his dang thing.
Hey, and if anyone wants any UFC 301 plays for tomorrow, I got some on that. Bet on Pantoja to finish the fight. You can say inside the distance. That's a parlay piece that I'm going to use on the UFC card tomorrow. But I know this is JJ's segment, but there is a UFC event tomorrow. I do like the champion to retain his belt. It's pretty close in odds. A lot of people are giving Steve Erceg a chance. I say he gets finished. So I would bet him.
Over or under for you, Tyler. Is Ryan Garcia going to be in trouble?
Ooh.
Getting free.
Interesting. One thing I will say about the Ryan Garcia and the Devin Haney thing is I am a little alarmed about when this came out. This came out pretty late after the fight that he tested positive. If he did test positive, he is certainly going to be in trouble. I think Devin Haney making it an excuse is a little hilarious to me because that doesn't really stop Ryan's right hook from hitting him. And Garcia finished that fight and was the better. But will he be in trouble? If it comes to fruition, yes. But I will say Ryan Garcia's camp has an interesting take on this because this happened so late after the fight had happened that the news broke out. So the news should have broke out a lot earlier on it, which is going to bring up a very interesting defense from Ryan Garcia in this whole thing. Usually, like when John Jones tested positive, for instance, he still fought his fight, but the news came out the next morning. He won his fight, the news came out the next morning. If they know that Ryan Garcia tested positive, why was it so long for the news to break on it?
Yeah.
And you know you can't use that as an excuse in boxing when you have all those media outlets covering you.
Yeah, exactly.
They get more news coverage than the UFC does. So
yeah.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to learn about it though.
Here we go.
Well,
I'm excited.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Can't wait.